Good evening, everybody. So let me start this nice event called Biotechnology Meetup. This is already the third in a row, and my name is Richards Gaivons. Probably the largest part of you already know me if you reach me, so you can grab me in social networks and email. And a few words about today's agenda. So since we're not very huge crowd, we will start with probably best thing like called personal introductions. So just tell a few words about yourself and introduce yourself. It's probably will help for networking. Then we have speakers part. We have three speakers today. Lynn will tell about Riga Australian University transfer opportunities and experience. Zenegils will talk about mechanical modeling and optimization of biochemical networks, and Anton will share the experience with his startup called Cornelum, which is actually one of the first academic spin-off from Latvia, as far as I know. Maybe, yeah. And then we have an introduction, so featured startup session. We have in all meet groups, to foster the technology entrepreneurship ecosystem here in Latvia. And we have announcement part, so everybody could stand out and announce everything related to the group and summary. So yeah. So probably we'll start with those introduction things that just answer a couple of simple questions. Who am I, what I'm doing, and what's my biotechnology or life science or healthcare experience here starting now. Everybody knows you probably, but maybe there's a couple of new.
Tom Schmidt from Unixis and Accelerates Life, and what I'm doing is actually making long lists of people that I have to talk to without getting enough companies engaged and involved. And as I was talking to Maria, I'm going to put some information through to the members about a minimum viable product and a funding platform that we're working on validating. And that's what we're working on, or I'm working on. And my experience is actually biochemistry, 10 years of research in some areas of oncology and cardioprotection in infant hearts.
My name is Greg Mathers, also from Unixis and Accelerates Life, and doing much of the same things that Tom is doing. My life sciences experience is limited to about 2 years, in which I've been working with some different life sciences companies and projects, and I'm coaching them through business development.
Hi, I'm Zana, I'm Calvin, and I'm a basic researcher working in the fields of biomedicine and cancer research, and I'm working towards the identification and discovery of novel cancer biomarkers.
Hello, my name is Linda, and I'm working with Riga Australian University Technology Technologies, and so I'm doing it already 6 years, and I will put more later, if I can.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Maris Nevovic. I'm from company Assistentis, which actually was presenting last time. For those of you who are here, we are building platform for next generation of applications in healthcare. My experience is mostly from IT side. So I'm more than 30 years in IT and some 5 years in healthcare.
My name is Linda Babovina. I'm also from IT, but currently I'm self-employed, but I'm also for e-health in Latvian government or something.
When it will be ready?
Nobody knows. But my interest is
This was
still
official
about
statement.
I think never, because all other countries are still building their e-health infrastructure too.
Okay.
With a step ahead.
I'm from Latvian Institute of Organic Synthesis. My field of research is cardiovascular pharmacology, experimental cardiovascular pharmacology.
Solizants. I'm working in University of Agriculture and Latvia University, and also in Tibet, which I will tell. And biotech and life sciences modeling. Healthcare experience, yeah, one girl, as many of us.
I'm Yuri Medal. I'm a researcher and PhD student at the University of Agriculture. My area is software engineering and application of computer science in metabolic engineering and synthetic biology.
My name is Anton Adamovic. I'm doing startups, biotech startups. Have founded Canalum and Stream, and the DEX Labs raised over €500,000 in pre-seed, seed, and venture stages. And this is what I'm doing for the past couple of years, also with background in biochemistry, biotechnology, and Skoll Startup Academy.
Hi, my name is Rudolf Krese. I work for a venture firm, DGI Capital, and I'm looking for a good startups to invest in.
Cool. You're first investor here in Egypt. I'm inviting you all crowd of Latvian technology investors for numerous times. It's good to see you. Okay.
Hello, I'm Mada Jevdeniec. I'm writing for our startup about startups. Basically, I'm looking for stories to feature in our blog. And secondly, I'm also building this Latvian startup community platform, Labs of Latvia. I will tell you about it later. Basically, what it does is gathering all the scattered information about our Latvian startups and featuring it to the world so people know about us, come to us, invest in us, and all those things.
Hello, my name is Aya Linné. I'm currently a group leader and scientific director of the Latvian Biomedical Research and Study Center. So my research interests are focused on circulating cancer biomarkers that can be used for development of non-invasive assays for the diagnosis and monitoring of cancer.
Okay.
My name is Uldis. I'm representing here also Research University where I have worked for 25 years. And actually I'm working now as an administrative staff, but in the past I did also some research in medical physics.
What about you guys?
My name is Igor. I just go into any free events organized by meetups and stuff to get free pizza and beers.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, pretty diverse crowd. So yeah, just a couple of words about history and about this meetup group. So this is I created this meetup group in order to foster this exponential technologies in Latvian economy. So I see the technology startups as Latvian secret weapon how to be competitive in global scale. And I'm happy about every single technology, global Latvian technology startups, and every of those exponential technologies. And biotechnology is one of the exponential technologies in this term. So I'm representing Green Credit University Foundation. We are developing with help to develop technology entrepreneurship meetup network here in Latvia, covering a couple of altogether eight meetup groups. This is called Find Your Co-founder group, which actually will be, the next event will be February 19th. So we're looking for everybody who is got an idea and not really a pitcher investor, but looking for co-founders. So just come out and speak in front of the crowd and looking for and try to find out your co-founders in the crowd. Pretty large group is called UI UX Meetup group. So for designers, user interface and user experience. Next meetup will have on February 23 here in Mill with speaker from Great Britain called Mo Sayed. Then we have a really drone meetup because Latvia is a drone country, as you know, so we have got a huge drone industry here. So we are looking for ecosystem which actually grow faster than those couple of companies. And next meetup will be February 24. Then we got a really mobile application developer meetup, February 25. For all platform developers, Riga Bitcoin meetup and cryptocurrency meetup for March 2. And then we have parallel programming and computer vision, machine learning and other stuff related to the code and interesting stuff. It actually will be in April. And last but not least is 3D printing meetup which it's actually posted from the last one for February meetup, but next will be in April. In those meetup groups are actually monthly groups, but we will get this one free month. So in March we decided to take a vacation from organizing them, and we starting from April. So pretty busy schedule for April. All eight groups you will see here. Then we have already scheduled May and June. So those who would like to speak, for example, in next biotechnology meetup, so you could find out those calendars in meetup.com or Rehat University homepage. A couple of words about classifications. In biotechnology, this is one of the first slides in our first meetup, because we would like to understand what kind of exact classification is under this term biotechnology. And we decided that in Latvia we don't have a huge ecosystem here, so we put everything which is somehow related to life science, IT, and biotechnology in one group. So under this group we expect to see life science startups, or companies or projects in bioengineering, health startups, healthcare IT, biology, genetics, biological engineering, do-it-yourself biological things, and other stuff. So in terms of startups, startup classifications, I prefer to see in Angel List how those biotechnology startups are classified. And under life science, there's one category called biotechnology, and under biotechnology is bioinformatics. And this is actually what we see in Angel List under this category. So pretty diverse crowd of startups doing different things, starting from IT to the wet sciences. So we decided to put all kind of companies here in one meeting group and see how it goes, how it develops. So it's also including, for example, mobile applications for health. We also put in this biotechnology meeting group because we don't have a different size of different group for that in order to be self-growing, something like that. So yeah. Feature startup, we would like to stress out that we are fostering this Latvian ecosystem for generating more and more startups. So very happy that from academical side or research side is getting out some kind of startups, and we would like to understand how to help them better through the educational and financial programs. So, and that's why we're honoring feature startup in every meetup. So today I put Canelum there. So we will have presentation for Adam a little bit later to tell what is their story and how they succeed and how to learn from them. A couple of words of sponsors. So this meeting group, the network is sponsored by Biotech University, who caring about technology international network education here in Latvia. Microsoft. So biotechnology startups also could apply for Microsoft BSpark program to get Microsoft product keys for free and get Microsoft Azure cloud instance for free for 1 year. And we have great things to say. Latvian Guarantees editor who's caring about financial support at meetups, to get the food and other stuff. So please sign your sheets at the end of the room, because we need to report back that it's not stealing money and something like that. So. Yeah, so featured project, and this is actually what Maria already told. This is also baked by the LGA. I like this project a lot. It's called Labs of Latvia, and it's really intended. I get the feeling that this project is going to help. It really will help some Latvian startups to be known elsewhere. So probably Maria could tell us a few words about it right now. So I could give you a floor for that.
Yes, so basically it's a Latvian startup community platform, as Rihards already mentioned. And what we're doing is so what we're doing, we're bringing information about Latvian startups to the world. Because I was writing for Arctic Startup for a year, and I was always struggling to find information about startups, and I was always feeling that many of them are underrepresented. We're finding out about them very randomly, and so I was craving for one place where to put it. And then I realized that actually people for doing investment have the same problem. They don't know where to get the startups. They write to someone they know here, they're trying to find them, and if the analysts who are doing the due diligence for them, it's a nightmare for them to work in Latvia. They prefer Lithuania, where they have startup Lithuania, they ask them and that's it. So, and the Latvian Guarantee Agency supports the same idea. They invested, the first program they had was about, it was very focused on the supply side. They chose the funds, like we have one representative here from ZGE. This is one of the funds which they chose, and they gave a lot of funding, and it was good, but we didn't give enough support to the startups themselves to give them investment readiness and to actually provide these funds with enough deal flow to choose from. And this is one part of what they're doing to change it. So the value propositions for startups is that it's a powerful visibility tool to reach investors, to reach media, and to reach anyone who wants to know about Latvian startups. So potential partners, potential other co-founders, because we have this one jobs list. Next thing is jobs dashboard, so you can find co-founders, so you can find staff. Then we will have startup news. We will have analytical news, first time about Latvia ever, I guess. In English, quarterly overview from the data which is scattered all over the government bodies. We're finally getting some of it out and putting it into articles. Then we'll have an event calendar, and that's the core thing for startups. For investors, we have potential investment targets neatly organized there. We will have local syndicate partners for foreign investors, so they can easily think whom to talk to. And we will have, again, startup news, the calendar, and also those quarterly overviews from the region. For media, we have real-time verified Twitter feed. We have one place where you have community content, so any startup can tell about it, and the media knows it's coming from the startup, so they don't have to rewrite it, or sort of look for credit whether we can use this image or not. We know this is for the startups, so we can use it. And then there is the database with content, so they can reach out and write about you. These are the preliminary screenshots. This is the main thing why I came here to show you how it's supposed to feel. This is still not a public version, not the end version, but generally it will look something like this. So you will have the news, you will have the calendar, and then down there if you scroll, there will be news in more detail, and up there you can filter by tags. So anyone who's interested in life sciences can put the tag life sciences, and he will find you and a few who are on Angels in Crunchbase. We're already importing it there. So you don't have to do anything basically when the platform is live. You just have to go click, yes, I'm from this startup. You contact us, we verify that you're actually from the startup, and you have the profile imported there already. And you can start communicating. This is how the news section will look like. If you click on the news, and this is how the startups database will look. We will have featured startups depending on them achieving something newsworthy, like they are opening a new office, or they have raised money, or they have done anything else meaningful, like Erdo has won CAS or someone else has done something else. And then we'll have all the rest of it. We will have startup profile where you can go in. Down there, these updates will be also synced to the startups. Besides the news section, they will be also visible here if they're relevant to the startup. So you can check what's going on, and you can also contact them. Same logics for investors. This section will feature, firstly, our local investors who are based here, who are coming from Latvia. Secondly, it will feature anyone who has ever done something practically invested into Latvia, not just said that he wants to or he thinks about who has actually done it. And then we will possibly feature also those who consider it, because in Angelus we have a lot of people who sort of say they care about investing everywhere, but they don't do it. So we just feature them, but with an asterisk. And this is, again, the profile which you will have, same like for the startups. And you can create your own account, and at this point, you become your own storyteller, and you can get this traffic to yourself. So journalists will not follow your blog, but they will probably follow one-stop shop for all information about startups. So they will read about you, and if they want, you can write a teaser, and if they want to find out more, they will go to you, and they will tell about you. So this is how we're trying to promote. This is our team. So firstly, it's me. And secondly, it's Kristaps Utelis, who has more tech work background and who is writing in Cursor Salvi now, and many other technology blogs. You probably know him. And then Ekaterina Zaitseva from LGA. She is our patron and this active person from the government side who's actually has shiny eyes and running around and doing things. And then we have frequently asked questions. So what we get, so we answer them right now, is why the platform, why it's needed, because we have AngelList, Crunchbase, we have every sort of things. Well, the problem is that all those things are scattered, and if you want to some neutral place where you have all the information about Latvia, like if you are interested in the geography, you can't find it. Even if you go to any of the databases, you just can't see because you don't know whether these are active or not. I've been editing the database, I've seen all kinds of weird stuff which is happening here, which is actually not, but which is featured there. So we have human people actually checking all those things. And we are not really the database is updated, but the primary thing is that we are the storytellers. So we are contacting the media outlets and telling them, hey, we have started, so we have this thing, so we are marketing you all. And it's much louder voice if everyone tries to reach out on his own and find a way. And then who is editing the content? Well, it's me and it's Kristaps. So we, as media representatives, we just want to get all the work out, so it's not any private entity who wants to feature their startups at the expense of some other startups. We just want to feature all Latvian startups. And we're funded by LGA, and LGA is basically government, so what they want to stimulate more startup activity, and they want their funds to have investment targets. That's what they're doing, pretty straightforward motivation. And what we'll have editorial content, we will have all this data coming in and writing about, quarterly overviews, and analytical stuff, and then we'll have community content where any of you can tell his or her story, and it will be featured there. So I have received many questions whether it will be in English or in Latvian. Our content will be in English, but if you feel like your audience is reading in Latvian or even in Russian, your own content which you create, your profile, you can create in any language. But we suggest English because the main audience will be expecting it to be in English, but it's up to you if it's your profile. And the vision for what we're going to do with it, because it's government, you never know, funding is ending and what's happening next, that's the obvious question. Well, what we're doing is we're launching the first version in March, and we expect it to be like a startup, a minimum viable product which we give to you, you try it and you tell us what is good in it, what is not good, and we move from there. Our vision is we gather all the community after this platform is launched, we create some sort of board, formal, informal, whatever. We just make more discussion about it and we see where it should go and what the community needs, because we don't need to waste money, we don't need to promote ourselves. We need to do something useful for the community, that's what we're creating. And these are our contacts, and if there are any questions at the moment, you can ask.
Questions from biotechnology guys? Question? I got a couple already because one of the all my question about classification of startup or technology startup in the case of biotechnology startup, because research and development in these particular fields are quite extensive. It means 5-10 years, and is it considered like startup here?
Well, we don't classify startups by the length of their cycle. We classify them by certain milestones, and we put it like if you whether you have some product out there, whether you have exited. We have like very basic classification, and we work more on tags. So we take the basic tags from AngelList, like you were showing us before, how we classify biotech startups. You were showing this tag list. So we take those. And then I assume startups can add their own tags if they feel like this is something that they want to put there as an added value for the person searching for them. Because if the tag exists in our database, but there is no startup under the tag, you will not be even able to put it in because there's nothing on there if you're searching for it. For example, if I'm searching for biotech and there is not a single startup in biotech, then it will just not let you search for this. There's nothing. But if you are a startup in biotech and you want to add the tag, you will have the opportunity. You can add it, and then you will be there.
Do you have some primarily some kind of database already for
yes,
startups? So how many of biotechnology startups are there?
I can't tell now because Kristaps is still doing the database,
Okay.
but there were 100 to 200 in between like that at all startups, and out of them how many are biotech, I don't know because he's still doing the database. But what we are doing now, we have first a database which should be ready this week, and then we see from any places where we have, for example, here we ask you what startups you know, and if we see they are not on angel list, we will be communicating to them. Preferably we will have them on angel list, because then we can fetch the data, and if they update on angel list, it's updated automatically with us. If they put it in our platform, it's a bit more complicated to get it out there.
And for classification, you will going to use those angel list classifications?
As a basis, yes, but it will be an opportunity to add subtags if you feel like there's something very specific about you, which adds value, you can add a tag. There is this profile where you have tags, like here you have technology, electronic sections, so you can add your own tag, which is very descriptive if you feel like, but it will be at the end. So first it will be those general tags, biotech, under biotech, some discipline, whatever you are, and then the last thing will be your custom tag.
And my last question about how to write stories about very technology savvy biotechnology startups, because from my experience, those guys who are working on that are not very marketing or PR oriented, so they technically could tell what they're doing, but it's probably not very interesting for everyday reader. So how you manage this kind of problem?
Well, there is an option they write themselves, but if they don't feel comfortable doing that for some reason, as you said, they can write to us, and we can find an interesting animal we can do it, because we are doing it for life. We with Kristaps, so we can write interesting story about them. The distinction here is, for example, that if you write about yourselves, we don't check this community content for bias. We don't check whether it's true, because the person writing it is responsible for it being true. We just check whether it's not offensive, whether it's nothing bad. But if it's about themselves, it's promotional content, they can put it, but it's clearly shown that it's their content. But if we are writing it as editorial content because we are responsible for it as a platform. So we will be writing it professionally and also interestingly.
So you are ready to write a story about
we are ready to write about biotech stories.
Language.
Yes, we will do our best to do it. Most likely we will not be covering every single biotech startup about every single stage of their development. We will most likely doing some aggregate articles about some trends or something which we can package and sell, but we will definitely have them get featured because we don't know ourselves about biotech, but if someone contacts us and tells us about it, hey, we have this thing, we'll obviously call them back and talk to them and figure out how to sell it.
So more questions for Mary? No questions. Okay. We'll wait for launching. It will be in March.
Yes, March 3rd we'll have an ignition event. You can go to the platform, labsoflatvia.com, and actually sign up for it, for the newsletter. Like you will receive one email before the launch that will be saying basically when and where is the launch.
And there will be party of opening.
Yes, there will be party of opening, an ignition event. We were still looking for the premises, but we will have actually Christina Forsberg speaking at the event. The woman behind Slash and everything who was helping Peter Stavago to get his first press release out. So she will be speaking at the event. It will be great.
Okay, so we are going to speakers side. So is it okay to speak in this order, like Linda, Egils, and Anton?
I should have half an hour left.
Okay. Then we put Anton in the first speaker. Is okay? Okay, so yeah. So this is your slide. Welcome.
Or do I just, I'll show. Everybody, my name is Anton Demoich, and I'm CEO and founder of Biotech. So first of all, I'll give you a brief insight about where I'm now with my startup, and later tell you how not to screw up. Because, well, after a year and a half experience with an invested project, I have something to share with other people who ever engaged in startup activities, getting venture money activities, and etc. there's a couple of really important things you should consider from your very first day. So, but first of all, just briefly about my startup. I'll go really briefly to have more time for discussion, and actually, please feel free to ask any questions. Absolutely. So, controlling biosafety faster. This is what we are doing. This is what we are aiming to do with our product. Allokit is our product. It's just a trademark, and I'll give you insight about it. So we have a proprietary technology for really fast detection of stuff in stuff. So bacteria in water, yeast and mold in dairy products. Potential for different applications. A bit about history. So we are, as already mentioned, the first spin-off, a commercial spin-off, scientific spin-off from Riga Technical University, with all tech transfer done according to all the laws of Europe. We've actually developed it together with RTU, the old policy, because all this legal stuff is really important when your company's evaluation is a question. Because if you don't transfer the technology properly, your price could drop 2-3 times later at the evaluation stage. Because, for example, you have know-how or something else, and if it's not there in the company legally, there's nothing inside it. So you have to be really careful with this thing. Just to mention, this is not my only startup. I also have another invested startup and co-founded one more startup, all in biotech, biochemistry. So yes, first of all, we're born in commercialization reactor. This is something you might be familiar about. This is an event where scientists meet entrepreneurs, undergo training, and then make a successful team, hopefully. So, spin-off from Riga Technical University raised 200,000 in September 2013, and 300,000 we got a commitment just in December for a venture stage from Imprimatur Capital. So this is still a commitment. This means that if we achieve some milestones, we'll get all the money they promised to us. Anyway, it's frozen, it's for us. And we're doing quite successfully with achieving our crucial milestone. I'll give information later. So, core competence. I'll show you a picture later about what we actually see in our product, but we can color cells, bacteria, with fluorophores which attach to specific cell surfaces, and then see those in a microscope, which could be important in quantitative microbiological diagnostics. Innovation proven to be extremely promising commercially and scientifically. We have signed deals, not deals yet, it's just memorandums, that if we are achieving the milestones, they are going to buy the stuff from us at a huge scale. But anyway, lots of research inside, done by the scientists, microbiological research. But this is also not the whole part of the story. So, slightly about the team. Talis Juchna, Vice Rector of RTU, Linda Meželin, PhD, co-researcher of the technology, some other laboratory technicians who are helping us with doing lots of stuff, and me, just the CEO, having fun with Biotech. Joking, it's actually a pain in the neck, but lots of fun. I like my team, and anyway, going to the product. And what problem we're solving. So this is actually a problem that persists since Pasteur times, since Petri dish was introduced. So those archaic cultivation methods, everybody's familiar with the Petri plate, are there for over 100 years, I guess, and being used for compulsory microbiological diagnostics. So you prepare milk, for example. Then you take a sample of milk, you put it on a Petri dish to cultivate there some specific microorganisms that industry requires you to control. And 48 hours, blah, 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 production loss, contamination, economical and reputational risks. So I'm dealing with milk industry, dairy industry inside. So sometimes As a consumer, you don't usually see these problems because they are removed faster than you can actually taste them. So opening sour cream, you can see a really nice bush, which is some mold inside. So they got into shops actually, but the first customer said, okay, I have something growing inside, so we recall expenses for this. Okay, so our solution, it will appear, but just attention. Our solution is not a 48-hour test, but just 1 hour or 20-minute test, which is due to the technology, the specifics of technology that we have. It was firstly introduced by our scientists to entrepreneurial team as a tool for detecting bacteria in water. But this is something where entrepreneur comes with creativity, is to find a higher market, a market where you have more money inside, market which could be integrated easier, not governmentally regulated, something else, something B2B. Really B2B is what matters in biotech. Because if a business dictates the rules, those are all dictated with a commercial value, not something else. So it's not the government that is pushing doing something, because governments, they change and go, but business needs, they persist through the decades. Any luck? So, and what we're introducing is not just a 50 times faster test. We are introducing ability to react on time, a competitive advantage for a company who is using our methods in comparison to to other companies who are using old methods. Well, we can go like this. It's okay.
Yeah. It's warming up, so
it's fine. Okay, let's don't stop. So I'll describe the product more. Great. So I've talked maybe too much without describing the product. So it's actually a test which you run just taking a sample of milk, putting some reagents inside, then filtering it through, having a membrane then. And then you put this membrane onto a microscope, fluorescent microscope, which automatically investigates with a camera and software, specifically engineered software with morphology, image, specific analysis, algorithms, and tell you how much exactly of these microorganisms are there on this filter. So scientists came with us only with microbiological part of solution. So we had to find our own partners who would develop a microscope for us. And luckily, this is how it looks like. Current our first prototype microscope who can run the sample, see the microbes inside, and actually count those. And here we go to our business model in simple terms. So just as you have an espresso and the stuff you pay for every day, we have the same with our tests, which are used for compulsory testing on a daily basis. And our microscope, who will work with tests intact and protect our intellectual property as well, because they only work together with our microscope, and those markers, all the algorithms, it makes just more complicated to copy us. This is the picture of what actually you can see under the microscope. This is a very good picture. It's not like it happens all the time to see those pictures, but that's the perfect condition, which never happens actually, almost. So yes, you can see the green ones which are alive and the red ones which are dead. These are yeast cells. And this is really important for some industries to quantify the life criteria or find whether they are alive or dead and understand the ratio. So it's not only dairy companies, it's also beer producing companies who are working with yeast and malt all the time. But let's not speak about everything and about what we are having now. This is our MVP actually, minimum viable product, a test for dairy company which allows to quantify yeast and malt cells. Ooh, too much text anyway. There are of course challenges, and main challenges are industrial experts, because when you come to a startup with all your passion, all the expertise that scientists have, you never know the industry. You never know the industry so well you can do anything. You cannot feel comfortable in the industry without a guru. So and it's everywhere in each part. It's in optics part, in software engineering part, everywhere. You need an industrial guru, optics, electronics experts, whoever. Also somebody to guide you through all the questions. And I'll go back to this later. So just shortly about the plans and then how not to screw up the stuff. So right now we are in the middle of finishing European certification. It's been a while since we started doing this. We thought it would take us only 4 months, 6 months, but we were too, how to say, aggressively optimistic on this. But anyway, we're going towards this. And we already have 5-year-old contracts waiting for us with dairy companies throughout Europe. Guys just want to sign long-term contracts, not short-term contracts, which is also fun. Finishing optimization of our software, because you can never be fine with what you have. You can always upgrade and upgrade and upgrade, make it more user-friendly whatsoever. Then we go, after we acquire one customer properly, then we spread out to many, because there is a pattern in this. And then we go long-term through different applications. For example, there is problems with Listeria water. There's problems with E. coli, salmonella in meat, poultry, etc. Grow the company and exit. And this, I would say, sometimes most painful part, but I would be very happy if somebody could tell me this a year ago. I would reshape my investment application as well. Sit more, do more homework, find more people, and etc. So I've already mentioned this first one. You can never be an industrial guru. You can spend like 10 years in books. You can spend 10 years straight every day, 24/7 in books and magazines, but you've never worked in the industry of dairy, in the industry of microscope building. So it's not just like, oh, okay, there are key principles, let's go through this. You need somebody to guide you. So you need to find those guys, experts, guru, who sometimes those are people who, for example, in dairy, they worked in dairy for years. For example, a guy worked in Valio or worked in Arla, which are the largest dairy companies in the world. And you ask them to give advice, you take them on your advisory boards, so they help you to shape your product. Because here it goes, the second one. Don't fall in love with your cars. It's like for a poker player. You might be so in love with your card, you want to gamble with it till the very end, but you sometimes need to stop, and this is where experts or guru can tell you, okay man, you are really good at what you're doing, but this is not exactly what the market wants. So let's reshape it. Let's go back to lab, pivot, and etc. So yes, you can find a million reasons to stay at your point, but there is just a few you need to actually fail. Yes, this is one more be in your very own place. So there are responsibilities who have to be taken by the scientists, their competences. There are responsibilities for entrepreneurs, like finding the market. Sometimes scientists don't want to take responsibilities, but you need to respect each other's positions and make the spirit in the team so everybody would be responsible for their part that they are competent in. And I would probably say the most important one is talk through the problems on weekly meetings with your team. Bring it all to the table, discuss. It's better to sometimes stop, go back to lab, 10 times go back to lab, because then you'll have a different vision. You could save money, you could describe this to your investors that, okay, there is something we need to change, but we won't lose 100K if we do this. So it helped me a lot, this part, but I could do it more, so I would probably be smarter, and but anyway, that's how it goes. But if you leave these core problems, the stuff that, for example, there is a scientific problem that scientists didn't talk about or something, and it's not that they didn't talk about it, it's you, for example, an entrepreneur who didn't get those out from the scientists. So you have to be, if an entrepreneur, you have to be very I have to be very good at extracting information from people who are trying to, maybe not hide it, maybe they don't want to speak about it, but and the scientists have to understand that everything is for the common good, and you can always, if you're tell the truth, you could elaborate on the problem and make it solved, because old sins cast long shadows, and in a startup where you have money behind you, so like in my case, it's already 200K and 300K, $500,000 in this startup. It's better to do a mistake after 10K than after 200K, and then go back to square one or square two. So thank you for your attention, and if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Yeah.
Any questions?
My name is Igor, and I'm mostly curious about so you raise funding from somewhere else, yeah, from some person. So first of all, what is how the investor influence on your operation and what he expects from you, mostly?
How investor influences you? Well,
for example, if you're taking money from someone, I feel you are also having some responsibilities of it. Because if you are investing your own money or bank loan, is mostly your own responsibility. But in that terms, I feel sometimes if you took money from someone, you could also change the flow of your company.
Yes.
So that's my main question.
Okay, there are different types of investors. Somebody are willing to go on the board and make decisions. Somebody are just trusting you. And this is my case. So I'm just supporting every move I have with maximum evidence, so I don't have any other option for an investor left than to see it and hear and agree with what I'm doing. If an investor makes, it's also, you have to find a smart investor, smart money, who won't just be a bullion okay, we're going this direction or we're going that direction. It's you who are an entrepreneur who steers the ship not to crash, and you have to explain this. And if you find smart money, it won't be a problem. So they don't actually influence my decisions at all. Because we are influence
As
only
money, I
in
wouldn't say that it's smart money in terms of person who gave it. Because if I would give some 200,000 euros to someone, I would definitely try to see how they're going.
Yes, we have monthly meetings. There was huge due diligence, huge homework, a year worth of time before getting investment. We brought the actual papers from largest MOUs with largest European and Russian dairy companies who said that if you're going to do this, this and this, we're going to buy your tests. So we had the plan, and it's a direct indicator from the market, which there's nothing more important for an investor than market response.
Yeah, and so how the investor is getting money back, like in terms of
They have shares from the company.
like all shares?
No, it's they have their percentage of the company when they invest, and it's agreed in the investment agreement prior to you getting money. So, for example,
Haven't you lost the control or no?
No, it's all fine. I mean, maybe well, it's some pain for you, but I haven't lost control. It's never a control pack, etc. So, good.
So it's,
It's less than.
so you have 24. Yeah.
Any more questions, Tom?
I'm just curious, like about
Yeah,
this
sure.
is the main issue for me, like.
Can you guys?
About your long-term milestones, you said exit. What do you mean by exit? Going to IPO, selling your company, or selling your technology?
Oh yeah, okay. So it's most likely, well, for every startup, every biotech startup, it might be a different case. You might be willing to do an IPO, but in our case, we are willing to grab a percentage of diagnostics market and deliver some paints to large companies like 3M or other guys who are main producers of Petri plates and all this the stuff for current diagnostics. And they will be seeing that we are getting there, we're grabbing a percentage, we are growing up, so they would come into negotiations for buying the whole company from us.
Yeah.
How did you come with this company? So were you a student of UCNA or?
No. Well, I actually have no connections with RTU previously. I had my degree in Glasgow and Moscow. But so in my very first sentence, very first slide, I mentioned the commercialization reactor. So this is where scientists with ideas see entrepreneurs and meet entrepreneurs. So, and Talis actually was there, and we met on the commercialization reactor. Actually, you can go to the website commercializationreactor.com and see there's a portfolio of companies, like 20-something companies, raising more than €5 million in seed, pre-seed, and some guys venture. So there's a lot of traction in Latvia in high tech.
Who was this crazy scientist who actually invented that thing? Because Talis Juhna is...
Talis Juhna, actually, prior to his vice rector part, he was in the labs as well. And
Still is.
And sometimes he still comes, but anyway, it's a decade discovery of know-how is presaged by decade for scientific
team,
research.
not one scientist, but team.
Yes.
So-
And just have on this here it's Talis who started it. Then we have Linda who made it better, shaped it through from the water to more towards the east. There's a huge. There were lots of scientific pivots during the commercialization route.
But what happened with this team, research team?
So they
Are they your employees now? Or?
they're employees. They are shareholders of the company.
So they left Greek Technical University?
No, they're part-time in the company, part-time in the university.
Okay.
So, and yes, they have their shares. We have we have an exclusive license of this technology towards Canela.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a license agreement. We just actually transferred it on Friday with all the proper know-how, signature with the rector, and all those secret procedures of putting it to safe and so on.
How do you think for scientific researchers is this feeling having shares is very important now? So because in this case, as I understood, they got the shares after they the job is done somehow.
No, they
But
have.
is there motivation for them, for other researchers to work free of charge, let's say, or partly?
Okay, I
just-
understand your question. Yes, yes.
Yeah, just-
It's not only yes, motivation is also it's all the time. It's a question. It's a question for entrepreneur to solve.
Mhm.
So you have to motivate your employees, who could be employees and shareholders at the same time. So actually, people can have salaries for the job, or in terms of well, in my team. We are more of milestones based. So if we have some milestone achieved, we have also a reimbursement scheme and motivation in this case. So, but it's yes, to motivate, it's difficult, and even with money, even with shares, you have to show success from time to time. For example, you bring a contract from dairy company, or you say, okay, we're going to certify it. And then it's going to be a 5-year contract, and you'll be having dividends from the sales, and this is this, and this. So let's finish it.
Any more?
Just a brief question. Can you give a hint of the cost of getting CE mark?
Cost us.
Approximate. Yeah. The certification process. Europe.
No. Frankly speaking, but CE mark. Are you sure you need a CE mark?
Well, you are for this, yeah, right now.
Not CE mark.
Not CE.
There could be CE mark, there could be everything, but you need an industrial expert to tell you what type of certification you need.
Okay.
We ended up that we need a specific Nordval certification, well, who are validating alternative methods in Europe. So what we are doing is we're doing parallel tests with ISO tests. For example, yes, there is ISO 6611 or 21527, which is protocol for yeast and malt manipulation in the dairy industry. So on one hand, we're doing these tests, and at the same time, from the same resources, we're doing with our EloKit tests. And we're comparing the results, doing the standard deviation whatsoever, with the guidance of expert laboratory. It's all described in the experiment design and validation protocol, which is submitted to Nordval. It's actually, there are 4 organizations in Europe who are validating alternative methods, but make sure it's the CE mark that you actually need. Maybe it's something more expensive, more complicated. And sometimes going towards, I think I remember you speaking on one of the events last year. Yes? Yes. So, yes, you are doing this anti-cancer something?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. But no, I don't have an idea about CE mark.
Did you get an expert view of how to go through the certification process?
Yes,
Somebody
I
consulted
actually,
you?
yes. So Nordval, they're actually getting money for this, for our application whatsoever. So we went there, we're speaking to their expert of how the whole process is done, and whether they can, whether the dairy companies can then shift from battery to our test. It was all okay, all yes, they can, and it's 100% safe and whatsoever. But sometimes certification is too expensive to imagine, and this is, but it's too expensive if you do it on your own. Maybe you need a partner to do it with, who could be a large company like 3M, for example. If we would need to develop a new standard, then we would use some partners who can invest in this, who have resources, capabilities of going with us together towards certification. Of course, they would have their motivation in this. They would probably get 1% of a company or something else, or yeah. But difficult to answer your question with something like this. Probably.
More questions, Brandon?
One more. Like you mentioned, one of the problems.
At transfers, I decided that I will start with some basic things. So, and as I like to keep it very simple, I put it down such a kind of definition that technology transfer actually is a process of converting scientific and technological advances into marketable goods and services. And if we go to scientific organizations, then I think there are 7 main steps where we need to go through if we are talking about technology transfer process. So everything begins with the research and development phase. So it's actually mainly are done in research labs or institutes. Then we can talk about invention that actually are results from research that has some kind of industrial application. Then we can assess it, and if we see that there is patentability, then we can talk about intellectual property rights and intellectual property protection. And then it comes this part of market things. So it means that there begins process with activities with industry. So we are starting to bring it to market. We are talking about our inventions, about our products. Then, if we are lucky, then we are going to licensing or creating new companies. And then all things that previous speaker told us very detailed, and then we can probably think about some kind of income that could come also back to university, and then we can take this cycle once again and once again. What are those advantages of research results of our scientific activities? So these are, of course, research results that are some kind of knowledges that can be used. These are inventions or patents. This is know-how and also scientific services. If I'm talking with industry people or with enterprises, I often hear that, oh no, it is very hard to work with universities. They are very huge entities, very bureaucratic ones, and you never know to whom speak and to whom go, and so it takes a long time, and so on and so on. So yes, universities are huge organizations with a lot of bureaucracy. And if we are talking about RSU, it is not a very big university, but even though we have 5 research institutes, we have 13 laboratories and 9 faculties and a lot of departments, and you can get lost to whom to go and to whom to speak. So my suggestion is that please look for technology transfer office persons or technology transfer persons, because they are those persons who can help you actually, yes, and because they know what is happening in all those structures, what they are doing, what kind of research they do, and what kind of results they have, and what they can offer to you probably. And they can also do this first check, so you come with your idea or your problem, so they can go through if there are any person who probably can help you. So therefore, again, go to TTO persons. And actually in Latvia, if we are talking about Latvia, in all all universities and university colleges, there are such a kind of technology transfer offices or technology transfer centers. So in each of these universities, there are a person who is responsible for technology transfer activities. So if you, I know them personally, so if you need some contact, you can call me or I can give you direct contacts. It's not a problem. We are very friendly. We are not competing each other. We are cooperating actually. And yes, why why talk with TTO persons? So actually they are business and also scientific oriented. By that I mean that again they know what is happening on in their university or research center, but they also know industry a bit, and they can be, I always say, like translators or like a bridge between these two parts, because these two parts actually they are talking in one language, but they sometimes or even often do not understand each other, and we can help you to understand each other. And of course those persons we understand our internal processes in a university, all stuff that is related with contract assignment, finances, human resources, and so on. So it means that probably this process will be faster for you to get in touch with the right person, and probably to get a good contract for you for both sides. If you're talking about commercialization, what kind? It's nothing new. How we do it? So it's through scientific services, through licensing, through creating new companies. If I am talking about Riga Strategic University, then I think that we are quite good in this first one. About licensing, we are now online on this, but we do not have such a good example as RTU, but we hope that very soon we will have. Yes, about scientific services, what universities can offer to you. So it is all kind of laboratory services. It is all kind of tests, analysis, measurements, and so on. So I call it like how to say, day-to-day analysis. So what can you ask from universities? Contract research and expert services. Where to find information? Sometimes I don't know. It's often said by enterprises that I don't know where to find the information. So about RSU, I think we did a good job last year that actually we renewed our web page, and today you can find if you go to our web page and to the research part, then there's a button for enterprises, and there you can find two options: go to institutes and laboratories, or scientific services. Here you will find information about all our laboratories and institutes, what they do, what kind of services they offer, what kind of research results they have, and then everything. They are updating this information, and therefore I think it is very information is up to date. And here you can find those, I can say, day-to-day services and with price list, so you can calculate how how much it will cost to you if you would like to order. And one more, I think it will be a good database. It is already available, and there are some universities and research institutes that are already are on this database, and we are also these weeks we are putting our information inside this database. So this is about actually not only Latvian but Baltic states research institutions, and they offer to industry. So it means that you can find what kind of services they offer and what kind of equipment is available for industry, and so you can check it also, and it will go, it will grow. So there will be a lot of more information on this. So some examples of also commercialization. So this is one latest product that is on market called glycine. It is natural immunomodulator, and it was announced as best invention in 2014 by Latvian Academy of Science. And it was created in our Institute of Microbiology and Biology, but it was not a typical startup case or licensing case, because actually this invention was created in cooperation with company, and there was some European fund money and other investments in this product, but I think it is very good product, and we are happy about it. About this is what we heard previously, and I asked colleagues, can I put it on, and from RTU, and they said of course. So because yes, this is a one case that is happening in Latvia, and it's nice. So about our further activities, or our inventions that we are offering at this moment. We are working with one invention. We called it smart nitroglycerin. That is great composition for heart pain reducing, and we all know that nitroglycerin is one medicine that is that is used if you have this heart attack. But nitroglycerin has some side effects, and it is not and these side effects actually are very. Sometimes persons say that I will not use nitroglycerin because I have a great headache, I have a great flashing, and I don't feel very good after using it. And our researchers get very good composition, but reduce all those side effects. What else? Today we have actually 3 good inventions that are on a final phase of testing, and and you see that we can offer products in different industries, starting from cosmetics to veterinary medicine. So I probably will not go very further in details about those products, because if you are interested in these industries, then we can talk a bit more in personal discussions. So it was very briefly how we do and what we do. If you have any questions.
Yeah, questions? Questions. So I try to ask my questions. So, what do you think? How to turn the scientific research to enterprise, spin-offs, and other stuff? What kind of skill set those researchers or teams doesn't have now, because they usually, those are all kind of stuff is talking is very scientific or research somewhere in the labs, so, and they're not very good at commercialization and marketing and other stuff. So how do you see how university could benefit from, and what could be the right path for them to make spin-off startups, I don't know, companies and get feedback?
The main problem is that these teams do not have good managers, and managers who can push those ideas forward. Though businessmen actually.
Okay, what would be the solution for that?
Solution could be that probably there could be some kind of team building activities that probably they can meet each other. So these business persons with those scientific persons, and they can talk to each other, maybe get in a good team together. Because I do not believe that there are a lot of researchers that would become a good businessman. So there maybe are few of 100 or 1 of 100 that has such a kind of skill.
Yeah, and was this product, what's the business model for a university for this particular product? Does the university make money for that, or does they just spending European funds money on research? Let's say.
Actually, it was a project, European money project, it was not a good business for university, but it was maybe a good marketing instrument at this moment, because you can tell that it is created in university.
Because this product belongs to the company who is actually developing that. Okay.
So like you haven't been any kind of benefited from it, you develop it for the company and the company sells it, like where the university gets the money?
It probably is not the best case if we are talking about good product commercialization on a point of view of university, but it is not always about money. It's sometimes about the product itself and about our reputation, and what we can tell to our next customer that we already have one product on the market, and then that's sometimes maybe makes sense.
Review a model, yeah.
Yeah, but there's a really big value. I mean, because I've known Linda now for a couple of years now. We've been working with RSU. And when I first sat down with Linda, I expected to hear about some 3 or 4 or 5 startups that have come out of the university. But what we understood from talking with Uldis and with Linda is that this has been a slow process of people in the universities getting used to the idea that you can earn money from not just kind of doing your work, but from earning money from the ideas and the inventions that you generate. And it's a slow process. Linda's been doing this for 6 years now. And the technology transfer idea has been alive for about 10 years now. We need examples. I mean, Anton's is one really good example, and this is a really good example. And having worked with some ideas from RSU, I mean, you can see the changes that have occurred. So this is really valuable. The benefit for the university is actually that researchers got paid for doing something. They got paid for interacting with business people and understanding what their process is like. And then Linda ends up with this really good slide that she can show that the university is doing something, and that's a really positive thing. And then just to come back for a second, I'm sorry to Richard's question about how do you get these people together. One way to get people together is sort of a commercialization reactor kind of a model. And there's a lot of good things about commercialization reactor. That's one way. Problem can be like if you don't have somebody like Anton's who has a background in microbiology, I mean, you know, you take a lot of time to get the business person up to speed with the science. So one model that we kind of work with is similar to what Steve Blank does in the United States, which is kind of, you take people and you bring together a researcher, maybe a graduate student from that researcher's laboratory, and then match them with an industry expert. And that's what we did with the team, with Linda's team and Lozana's team. And then, you know, then you start looking for the people who can fill in that team but have to have the expertise in that industry. And one of the issues, I mean, for commercialization reactor is sometimes that, you know, you bring in kids who are second and third year students at SSE who believe they can do everything, but they don't know the microbiology. You know, and it takes time, right? I mean, it takes time to come up to speed and understand. So, I mean, there are two really good ways of doing it. We believe in one. We like commercialization reactor.
I mean, also from the point of view of macroeconomics, it doesn't play very much role if the university gets royalties from inventions and somehow supports research, or is it going, let's say, to the companies, and companies are making this kind of return? Because the big Germany, all this protectionistic machine is working the way that the inventions are given, in fact, for free to companies, and the companies are returning this to the state.
And that's a big argument in a lot of countries. The universities believe that they do things in the public good. And so what we create in the university should be the public's.
I'm mostly like curious about the exact process. For example, me, I'm the company. And what I do, just like, could you please give me like in 3 steps, like how it's appeared, like, for example, like, not me specifically, but like, for example, I'm the, I don't know, medicine company. So how I come to you, like, how, could you give me example in like 3 steps, how it's coming, like, forward?
First step, we somehow meet in such a kind of meetup or brokerage event or commercialization reactor or acceleration activity. So we somehow meet each other, and so we present you our idea, our results, our invention. So we give you all competitive advantages that we have and probably are interesting for you. Then it is your step to decide if you are interested in this invention.
So second step, yeah? Right now. So in the point of second step, I say yes, I'm interested.
Okay, then it's nice.
So what's next?
And then I think probably the most difficult part comes. So we need to agree on what kind of conditions you will take our technology, our invention.
So it's always point of argument. Like, you don't have the.
It's case by case.
Yeah,
There
case
is
by
no,
case. Yeah.
There is no.
There's no price list for patents.
Sorry?
There's no price list for intellectual
Yeah,
property.
there is no price list. Yeah. So.
Okay, from this value chain, as I understood, the research technology is done in the university, invention in the university, IP protection is done by your lawyers.
University. Also, we have our patent attorney.
Okay, and what about this funny little thing, technology marketing? Who is doing that?
Actually, we are doing also it. So.
Are the university very good at selling products?
No, we are good at pushing our researchers out. So we are pushing them to go.
Usually, researchers are not very good at salesmen.
It's not about sales, it's about telling about their inventions.
So, and those technology marketing is done through the scientific conference, let's say, or what events?
No, of course they are going to scientific conferences as well, but we are pushing them to go to different events where also business persons are participating. So it's a different kind of...
Venture capital forums? So
We are ready for them.
who are ready for that? You are ready, or but usually I don't know what the venture capital guys could comment on that. Do you have a lot of teams coming from universities, like researcher teams with a nice, good idea, and are they good on selling them, pitching them, telling what they're
Sometimes
doing?
they are coming, but usually they are at very, very early stage.
Let's say idea stage, or I don't know, without any business model.
But of course, I have seen many business cases from almost all universities, all institutes. In all institutes there are a few good business cases, but maybe what I see is a lack of real CEOs. They have an invention, a good invention, but the team is not set up.
So, how to deal with this problem? Do we need to be this team built in university? So, university should care about bringing CEOs and business people, or because now it's.
I think it's just an awareness. If those guys from SSC knew that there are such good inventions, after they finish this SSC, I don't know, work for a consultant or whatever, they go to these universities, I don't know when they have 30, and they take this technology like Anton's did, and I think that's one of the ways. But I think there is
this Anton's success case because he studied biotechnology.
SSC
studying accountancy and other stuff, so they even can speak the same language.
Yes, I know, but sometimes you don't even need such a guy. You just need a guy who is hands-on, who will push the team to the goals. Yes, that's my opinion.
So you need to go to the SSC and ask students.
Okay. Again, I'll very politely disagree, because some of the best cases of biotechnology companies in the world are ones where the CEOs are PhDs, and they come from that world, and even the CFOs can be PhDs. One of the people that we worked with in our process is a PhD in molecular biology who then went into the dark side. So you can find these people too.
The question?
One question, Comment. Have you considered something like offering courses or even more courses to those targeted business schools? Maybe not bachelor's program, maybe even master's program, because many of the students, which is the students, they may need just this portion, this information about the starting info about this biotech. Maybe they can take it as an elective course, get some knowledge about it, and they can pivot their career, and then they can go to this biotech company.
You need
work
to change
but not the startup. Not the startup.
Step.
First they go work in some big company, they learn the industry, and then they become the expert. But what they need is as we mentioned, this awareness. Have you considered some sort of lectures or some sort of massive online courses or some sort of way to engage those potential big pool of students who you could get out those next CEOs from the next
So you mean entrepreneurial courses, not technical or biotechnology?
One way would be to have entrepreneurial courses in a technical university. Another way would be to have those technical courses in SSC, because I know in SSC we have a lot of programming courses which you take as an elective, and my course mates are working in IT companies and they know how to code because they have taken 5 moves. It's just about the commitment of the person and about the university having the opportunity to take those courses. But have you considered some way of influencing this, like offering those courses to any other?
But researchers are not students sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Those are different worlds, so it's quite complicated case.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't have to be bachelor's, it can be master's, it can be PhD, some sort of giving them some sort of teaser that they know about.
It's not kind of a secret, but we've had conversations with the Ministry of Economics and Finance Ministry as well as Executive Ministry about providing. There's a course that Ken Blank what do I keep saying Ken? Steve Blank does in the United States through the national.
Yeah, because of health issues, I should stop that. So this private business is nice option, but as long as I get paid and I get projects by university, that is more relaxing and less stress. So to get me on the business, you should completely close my funding from state. Then I would be quite active, quite aggressive. So that's one way how to move people. Okay, I will talk about actually the business model is service. That is a service which we are doing in research projects at this moment, but that could live as a separate business. So mechanistic modeling and optimization of biochemical networks, I will try to explain it as good as I can. And first with similarities. So my first question was, what is mechanistic modeling in biology? So I'm an engineer. So I feel first I have to explain what is mechanistic modeling. So this is a tool which we use at least once a day if we are healthy. That's a water closet. And so usually we do our business and we turn this knob to get water flushed. But we don't know usually what's exactly inside. So to have, and that's the case very often with medicine, with biotechnology. We don't know exactly how what's going on inside. And from that perspective, they have taken this mechanistic modeling. So that's what's inside. Okay, try to remember it so you will not see it for some time. So mechanistic model means I know exactly what are those details inside, genes, proteins, whatever. In this case, it is mechanism. So this stuff is floating. If I remove it, I will. What will I have? Yeah, water will continue to go through. If I turn this knob, that means I'm opening this valve, and so this is the system, how it works. And being engineer, I know well what happens if I bend this stuff, if I make bigger this or other detail. In some cases, nothing exactly will happen. In some other cases, I will be able to flush it more often, but that's the mechanistic stuff. And that's why it's mechanistic modeling. So we want to understand what's exactly inside. Modeling. So there are two stages. First, we are building model, and the target is that this mathematical model is behaving like the original. So the system of interest that's original. Is it a cell? Is it a human? Whatever. And we put in what biologists tell us, what we can find in the books, so how it is, how the elements of the system interact, and we should get it good enough to use this model in computer experiments. Once we have done with the model development, we might think it's working. It's good enough. We start to exploit that model. So instead of biological experiments, we can do computational models, but compared to biological experiments, in our model we can see exactly what is happening according to our knowledge which we have put in, and we can see some stuff which we can't see in biological experiments. We can't measure everything. On the other hand, all the rules, all the ideas that we put in the models, they are coming from biological experiments. There's no other source, of course. What is the advantage of modeling? So we can put in many rules inside the model. Imagine if there are 2,000 of reactions. I will talk mostly about metabolism, which is the simplest case, but we can do it with signaling networks, with different stuff. There are thousands of reactions. They take place simultaneously. one influence another one through concentration of metabolites, of expression of genes, amount of available amino acids, so it's a complex system. But in the model we can say all those rules we know, or we assume that they are right, they are acting at the same time. And we look what will happen. In most cases, models are not right or they are not complete, but they might be helpful. And we can, in models, we can see many things which we can't measure. Low concentrations, fast, slow processes, different stuff which is disintegrating fastly. And some measurements can't be made because they would ruin the system. So it can be easily done in model, but on the other hand, of course, that's not experimental system. And in all my talk, I'm not trying to replace biological experiments with modeling. Models are tools to understand better what we have done, and the most important, to understand which experiments are useless. Models are very helpful in that. Okay, we can analyze the simulation results to find out reasons of behavior. Quite often there are experiments where the system behaves in a strange way. We give, for instance, some substrate, and the process, instead of speeding up at once, it's dropping down, and then it's coming up. And there could be question, is this a measurement error or something else? And sometimes models are telling that's how it should be because of this and that reason. And if those two rules are active at the same time, that's what you should get. And in this way, models are explaining sometimes cases where we think there is some technological error or measurement error. And then what is, again, extremely helpful, it's optimization. About optimization, I will talk a bit later. There are different types of biochemical network models, and the experts of modeling, they are playing with many types of models. And for instance, there are genome scale models which are expected to take into account all the, in case of metabolism, all the reactions which are taking place. That's not quite true, but there are large models, but they are very simple. So each reaction is just described to see that the mass is still conserved. And we can have even more, say, heavier for modeling, small pathway models with 9 or 10 reactions, but each reaction, this is not possible, that might be possible, and then we focus on a small part of the process where we make a very fine-tuned model in a small scale. So there are quite many instruments. We talk about, so this modeling can be applied to everything what is biological. I mean by that everything what is made, anything what is cellular and what can make next generation. So just as humans do or any organisms. In case of biotechnology, so we have combinatorial explosion of adjustable parameters in case of biological strains. So imagine we have a pathway with about 15 reactions, for instance, and we can change concentrations of enzymes. Then we have a change of each enzyme concentration is a manipulation that is quite heavy. And we want to know the best combination to get our target, and there are 32,000 combinations which are not useful to test in lab. It's easy to do in a modeling. Another item is optimality assessment of a solution. That's not a big problem in research, but that's very important in business. Imagine you are developing a strain, It's 10% better than the previous one, so from the same substrate you can get 10% more product. And you think you have a great idea, great plan, but if someone else is doing the same, just improving the yield by 30%, you are in big trouble. And if you learn about that when you have done your job and your wonderful 10% increase is coming to the market and you don't know how far it is from the best possible solution, you could be at risk. Models, mechanistic understanding can tell you what are the limitations. Okay, if precondition is that model should be quite good, but that's the target. And so in case of biotechnology, I want to make just small examples. This is the model we made for one particular microorganism, Xylomonas mobilis. Simple type of model, and it tells that there is a steady state assumption, so to say. It tells whatever organism, whatever substrates or atoms or stuff organism is getting in, it's also getting rid of that. So in my case, during last 10 years, so my weight has increased by 3 kilograms, which is, I would say, steady state. So that means perhaps 1 gram per day in those 10 years. So it is steady state. But when I took that pizza, so I gained weight by 200 grams, 300 grams. But I know that during 1 year I will get it back, give it back to the nature. So this is a simple assumption here. Quite simple model, but it tells. So what's the use of that in biotechnology? We were testing 4 modifications. So you see those red arrows, those are either added reactions or removed reactions. So we put genes or delete genes. And for 4 designs, we have we were optimizing glutamate yield. I don't know what it is, but biologists should know, and it's something you can sell, I assume. So having feeding glycerol, glucose, or xylose, we can get, we can see what is the maximal yield of glutamate, which is in this color. And in addition, we can see that we would produce carbon dioxide, oxygen, and so we can see for different designs. And if I have to choose, if I have to make a choice, should I go for it or not, I would look what's the best I can achieve. If it's not interesting for business, then I leave this organism and I'm looking for something else. If I look that this is the theoretically best possible, I'm looking which design would be best for me. I look what side products I would prefer. So here, for instance, we can get succinate as a byproduct. I think that could be sold as well. So we can see quite good picture. We haven't taken many things. We have not taken many things into account. This is the best scenario. Then, if we make more, say, exact model for a particular pathway, we could learn that this is just a nice assumption, but in fact we get less. But by modeling in a cheap way, we can see what is the total picture. Of course, if the model is good. In medicine and pharmacology, so I'm not expert there, but I tell what I've been involved in Avicenna project. And that's definitely a market for modeling. This is the traditional way of drugs to be sold, and I'm told that there are about 15 years and about $1 billion. something like that. So there is space for my salary, definitely. What models can help there? Oh, okay, I should. You can read that if you have time. What modeling can help there is to reject the mechanisms of drugs, which will not work at cellular scale. If you have less complicated model, you can make some more rough predictions, but the main point is modeling can help to reject the bad ideas in early stage. And I'm told that perhaps if we have 1,000, say, potential drugs at the beginning, then perhaps 1 or 2 drugs go till implementation if you are lucky. Early deletion of, say, bad ideas by modeling, that's really something what is now hot in Europe, in the world. And there are some models. So this is a reconstruction of human metabolism, simple type of model, but quite large one. It's publicly available, and they talk about metabolism in about number of reactions, about 7,500. And they are looking at inborn errors of metabolism, so that's how they use it, but that is a resource which is freely available. I can use it, you can use it, but of course skills are needed and this model will be improved and so on. But I mean, there are some tools which can be used already now, and you don't have to go for so large model. We have here a small example of all this related study, really small study. There are 2 genes which could be related to mitochondrial type of autism, and mitochondria, one of the functions is to produce ATP, and we made, we played around with a model to look what is the impact of deleting of 2 genes. And here above we see the normal case, so that means without any deletions. And these are the fluxes of reactions. And in this case, maximal ATP production was 68.4 units. And to make this, this is the reaction we are looking at, to maximize it. And there is quite a good flexibility in other reactions which are supporting this production of ATP. That means if this reaction cannot happen at maximal speed, then the other reactions can compensate that. Then we switched off this gene, and the maximal ATP production dropped by 1%. No big problem. But we see that the system is working now at quite high stress, which means these reactions have to be at particular flux to get this ATP at 67.7 units. So this situation is much more fragile than the one of normal. So this gene is more influencing the fragility, and so the maximal rate is quite good, but it's not stable. If we knock out this gene, it dropped more than double. So this is really important gene. Question is how big production is really needed. Perhaps 30.4 is quite enough, but this one is more critical than that gene if the model is correct. And in this case, we have really good flexibility, so reactions can compensate one another. And that is what we can learn from quite a primitive study. if we interpret these results right. So there are some tools which are quite easy reachable. And what would be the result? So there is a project, a European level project, which wants to implement in silico clinical trials in the first stage to shorten this process and to reject early bad ideas of drugs, bad ideas of mechanism, of bad ideas of drug targets. And of course there will be experiments still with humans, but this is expected to be faster. So it is a hot issue, and of course cheaper. And the last item is the business model. It can be software development, model analysis, optimization as service, and all of that would be a service. Software could be intellectual property, perhaps, but it's not so likely. There are companies which are working like that. For instance, in Silico Life company, wonderful company for people. And when I asked, so how big is your domestic market, they said, no, we don't work with locals. And actually, what they need are skills and computers, not so powerful. So it is possible. Company Tibet, as soon as I stepped into university of agriculture, I didn't want to be labeled by agriculture. So with my first doctoral students, we established a company in 2007, yeah, we made some business at the beginning, but now we had another trouble. There's funding for 3 years from one internet project, so we are not motivated to move into business. In the meantime, we are making publications where Tibet is mentioned as organization where we work for, and that is for publications which are not funded, for research which is not funded, which we are doing just by the way. In computer, where we need electricity and computer, it's really not that horrible. Or for instance, bachelor's works, we can do it like that. So we are, say, making portfolio for that company, but we are not so sure if we will use it. On the other hand, we want to promote these ideas. If someone is, say, if there are people which see good potential, great, and one day perhaps we have to go there if we don't have any funds. That's it. Thank you.
So questions?
From my personal point of view, I got a brilliant idea from this presentation, because I understood that research money is competing with venture capital money for teams inside universities. And it's I don't even can understand what could be point for team, what could be the target to get to those business parts of relationships and get the venture capital, not staying to the university part where it's actually it's very comfortable because there's no big stress. And what you said before. So what was the motivation for such kind of team? Of one researcher and a couple of PhD students.
Okay. One motivation is to be independent. As long as you are in university, you are bound by 100 rules, and if you want to buy a pencil, you gotta buy it for your own money, not from university. So that is one motivation. Another motivation could be money. For instance, in my position, I know what is my maximal salary if I work in state in university. Okay. So it's so and so many euros per hour. And if I'm becoming really great, I'm So I can't become a millionaire if I wanted. So then if you are, say, well paid in university, you might start something where you will be unlimited by success and unlimited by failures, especially by failures. So.
Yeah, but if it's lean startup funded by the venture capital, you still will not get a good salary for that. If you spin off from, because there's some presumptions, wrong presumption from startups that if we get venture capital, we get a lot of money. It's sometimes not so. It's still very lean, and sometimes it's even less salaries than you get to pass the job and are very comfortable. So.
Sure, but if your idea is good and you work first 5-10 years with venture capitalists, then one day you might have shares of something that brings you good money. If you are working just in university, you will never land there.
This is a question: are you ready to waste your time not being paid? Because you're investing your time in your startups, and sometimes scientific or strategic teams are not ready for that. I think that's one of the reasons. So.
But if I'm paid 70% by university, or say I'm getting money for universities through projects to pay me, it's nice, and 30% of my time I could put on a risk. So let's say I'm doing what I want, the way I want, and one day I might be happy for that.
But from venture capital perspective, venture capitalist perspective, they would like to see the team usually 100% working for a particular startup. So then usually the problem is that they're not really getting that team is somewhere there. They're getting money in, and
you already see it. One example was Talis Juhans from RTU, who's So he's definitely not full time. I mean, basically the full time person there is Anton's, and not even that, because he has 3 startups.
And I imagine if, for instance, I'm so my life is quite settled now, but if my doctoral students or students generally would be interested in that business model, it's not a secret I'm telling them. Anyone can take this business model and go on. So there's no license, there's nothing is hidden. If someone of my students which would like to build a house fast, once still is healthy, so fine. So the guy could do that. I could have, I don't know, 5% share, whatever, or just have fun to see that something is growing. I would still have my position in university because I don't like so much stress. So I think it could work.
And actually, there's another side to it, because you're assuming VC. Because another thing is that, for example, what we do with Accelerates and Accelerates Life is that most of the funding is not VC funding; it's debt-based financing. So it's a very different situation. That most of the stuff that you see, especially in like up to and early ventures stuff, is in debt-based financing. So you're not even diluting yourself. So, and in the United States, I mean, what they do is one thing that they do is to give motivation to people is they divide the world into hard and soft-based money. I mean, and if you're dependent on soft money in the United States, you're in a perpetual state of fear, of project and stuff. So I mean, to become more stable. One thing. It sounds odd when you're working in the venture world, but it's a way to become more stable.
So it's kind of sharing risks. Of course, the state position is also risky, and that was one of the reasons that we would like to have options, and especially in University of Agriculture. So it's the mentality there is that this is the only university I can work in because I'm living in Jelgava, so I'm alone. It's very far from Riga. So alone, the existence of such a company is a way to escape. And if your head of department knows that, oh, this guy can really one day walk away. So it's another issue. So
I get the feeling that the university is a little bit afraid of that we are losing. If this research team will spin off from the university, we lose scientists, good scientists, and they're afraid of that. So sometimes I get the feeling.
Yeah, sure. And if scientists are also afraid of that, then universities are fine. So it's settled. But as soon as people see options, they could fight on the market. It's not easy, definitely, but that's an option. If universities say, okay, your salary is reduced by half, your duties are increased, are doubled, and you say, no, it's impossible, but you are still working. So and there are people which will never go into a business. You can't do anything about that because many of them are selected to be immune against money. The other ones have escaped already some time ago.
Not immune against money.
I mean, it's difficult to compare with this Juchnal project, because Juchnal project is a kind of embedding project, but Egils does really a very long chain of value adding. This is difficult to compare.
Sure.
And so there could be even in national projects. So local universities or institutes could try to outsource this. Modeling as a service, and in that case, it's simply a way how to make.
You gotta sit down and talk more, Nico.
Sorry?
You have to sit down and talk more.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm on your list. So,
So any questions for Egils? No questions. Okay, we got a very band. Thank you. So we have got very close to the end regarding announcements. Are there any announcements for developing, looking for something, service offers or anything related to biotech? No? Then I make an announcement by myself. I heard from you that you are interested in teaching entrepreneurship at universities. So after 2 years of pushing the leading universities in Latvia, we succeeded. And actually we get the deal with Riga State University just a couple of days before. And we got this year so-called first program called Startup Entrepreneurship, bachelor degree program, which is actually a little bit modified. Yeah, but actually there's only partial modified with our intensive courses, and there's a couple of them actually listed here. So we put in as innovation and creativity, customer discovery, startup finance, startup patent law, startup culture and HR, startup sales and marketing, lean engineering, user interface design, and that's it, I think. It's like 6 course modules for this new program. So if you would like somehow to join this or become a teacher for that, we're still developing for the developing curriculum because we got accreditation for this program. But now the program starts in this fall. But our course is starting in second year, so it means after we get 1 year to develop this English language still blank and global course-based programs. So I'm looking for teachers and something like that. That's my announcement. So thank you for coming, and yeah, you still got plenty of food there, so feel free to network. Yeah, see you next time. Sure, bring some kind of ideas for speakers for next time. We're still looking for the brave Latvian startups already share their experience.
Es gribēju vienu jautājumu.